How do we heal ourselves as women? Big subject. First, look at your inner self, your inner being. What's happening? How do you feel about the world? How do you feel about your position in the world? Do you feel that you are free from patriarchy? Do you feel that you are supported by patriarchy? Do you feel that it benefits your life to have your subtle rights as a female, as a divine female, be stripped away from you? The right to talk, the right to love, the right to breastfeed in public, the right to have a natural birth, the right to educate your daughters in a specific way, the right for your daughter to have the education that she wants. How do you do that as a woman, potentially with children or responsibilities that are great? First things first, you need to earmark time for self, time for inner reflection, time for inner engagement, time to know you. And very often in vulnerable situations where women have children that are young, at any age actually, under the age of 10, or if they've been in abusive relationships or raped or abused in some way, shape or form, then the woman begins to lock herself down. And when I say lock down, she begins to close off. She begins to shut herself off and build barriers from the inside, hoping that no one will see. Right? And really think about that. We've all been there, where we carried on in autopilot, hiding and cultivating the way that we really feel, because we're not allowed to say. And if we do say, no one's going to listen or understand. Now, I'm just observing the planetary strata of women in this psychic moment. And I look at where the discrepancies are, right? And they all are everywhere. Every woman everywhere will have experienced pretty much some form of domestic abuse in the home from an early age, physical or sexual abuse in the home from an early age. It could be other family members, anything, anybody. Because we're taught to be flowery and still. Then it goes on when you can't say. You're in the education system. You don't get the male words. You don't get the male the subjects. The ones that are asking you to think in linear, rational terms that don't suit your subjective experience. It doesn't compute. So you begin to gaze out the window. Wherever the window is. Dreaming, daydreaming. And we're told to not daydream in school. Not allowed. Not allowed to dream. This program is deep. And you're not allowed to dream. You can't create. You're told to stifle your dreams. Then the first boyfriends come along. Oops. So, maybe that's just my experience. I doubt it. Some have a positive experience. There are a lot that don't. And it worries me a great deal actually, that seeing young women with potentially abusive husbands and partners, boyfriends, that shout at them, put them down, act all standoffish. So the woman goes through life thinking that men are like this. But really it's down to the mothers and fathers that brought up their sons. How is your son in this world, mother? Does he respect women? Is he kind-hearted to his girlfriend? Or is he set to repeat the mistakes of his father and his father before him and his father before him? Because it's carried through at a generational level. Repeating the sins of the fathers and the mothers because they didn't speak up. They stayed in relationships with the children. They stayed with partners for the wrong reasons because they didn't know anything else. They stopped listening to their inner beings. They stopped listening to their souls and began to cover up bit by bit, belief by belief, program by program, until it becomes a very dense barrier to a woman's existence. So when a woman, that's not even taking into consideration the energies that are drawn into the vagina during sex. And you might think, well, I love my partner, that's all very well, great, good. But your partner has a parasympathetic central nervous system that is going to be out of kilter, just like everybody else in humanity. They're going to be no different. They may love you, but soon in that high frequency state of love, they're going to come down and plummet into the low depths of shadow, which the woman will receive in her during this complex alchemical moment of interaction. Emotions, thoughts, beliefs, overriding emotions, that comes through too. So we absorb that in our wombs. We absorb that at the very deepest, intimate parts of ourselves. Oh, actually, and I want to go back to this program of this very same sexual activity. In school with sex education, back in the day, and still to this day, I oppose the global sex education program strongly, beyond measure. And I deconstruct it and will continue to deconstruct it because I don't believe in it. It's rubbish. And it teaches young people how to be unsacred in their interactions. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. So moving to that point, another point about the sexual programming side of things in science lessons. We can sit in science, we can learn all about the biology of the human body, its interactions, and then you hear that very first sentence. The man puts his penis inside the vagina of a woman. What does that say? What does that say to young teenage boys? What does that say to young teenage girls? I know that it's going to be funny. They're going to, ridicule it in some way. There's going to be nervous laughter. There's going to be silence. There's going to be embarrassment as well as a teacher talks about sex to a teenager. God. Honestly, people, come on. These are the things that we take for granted, right? A man puts his penis inside of a woman's vagina. Great. Now what? What, you can catch a whole plethora of diseases? God. This is not going well, is it, for the system? So the simple thing is put a coat on it, put a jacket on it, you'll be fine. And what about the woman receiving the emotions? Notice that these things are not talked about. It's not discussed, especially in this country where sexual activity has been frowned upon because of the Victorian age. and the Victorian ethos and ideal of thinking, women in long skirts, no promiscuity, all about the family, breed, 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 breed models for a great society. Do that. And then what happens to the woman? Every time I'm going to ask, what happens to the woman? What happens to the daughter? And I might be considered to be unfair, and I'm not being unfair. I'm just concerned because women give birth, women create life, right? And we've got to live with those creations. We have to bring those creations and teach those creations how to be sacred, how to look inside for the answers to our inner beings. Maybe it's not scientific enough for some. Maybe common sense isn't. But even in a common sense approach I had from being a young person at some point way back when, in fact, I decided to look beyond gender when I connect with someone. And this has always been my way. I'm not looking at what you are. I'm looking at your soul. I couldn't care what you're wearing. I couldn't care what you look like. I'm engaging with your soul, which is your light within. So how do we engage the light within in co-creating our reality? How do we do that? Do we hear our inner beings speak? Gosh, we're at that time already. I've been going on for ages. So if we do not hear our inner beings speak, then we are not listening to where we should be at on our own evolution journey. I'm just going to quickly take that to the next stage of life for a woman. She's probably got teenagers. They're troublesome, rebellious, fighting the mother. The boys fight their mothers. Why? Why do boys fight their mothers? Why do they want to overtake them and control them? What is that? I've experienced it myself. This rebellion against the woman. Take away all rights of mother, of woman. Impose yourself to them with your words and your actions. But it's different. Now it's different. This is what we've come through. Now we have the opportunity for sacred mutual peace, to connect to it, to engage with it in our moments of inner reflection. That's what we look for, to gain that clarity and insight as to how we live, how we operate, how we function on this planet.